Bonjour, bonsoir, and welcome to another video. Actually, this is not a video. This is an audio recording. This is the 11th edition of Radio New Manchester. In this edition of Radio New Manchester, I'm going to feature one of Winston Wu's videos from his Happier Abroad, Escape USA, and Date Foreign Women channel here on YouTube. And this is a video that was posted on his channel. This was from 3 days ago. And it's titled Philippines versus USA / Taiwan. Winston Wu breaks it down. Let me read this again. Philippines versus USA / Taiwan. Winston Wu breaks it down. Happier Abroad interview, April 2026. Okay, before I play this video, give the today's date and what time it is, where I'm at. Okay, today's date is April the 9th, and it's 1:51 p.m. local time. All right, got that out of the way. So I'm gonna play this video from Winston Wu's Happier Abroad YouTube channel titled Philippines versus USA / Taiwan. Winston Wu breaks it down. Happier Abroad interview, April 2026. And this video is going to be pretty long, and I'm going to record every single bit of this video. Hope my smartphone is up to the challenge. Hope my smartphone is up to the challenge of holding a lot of memory. So if you have ADHD and you don't like to sit and listen and find this boring, well, I suggest you click off of this video. So anywho, let me go ahead and play this if you're interested in this. All right, here it is. Philippines versus USA / Taiwan. Winston Wu breaks it down. Happier Abroad interview, April 2026. And this is from Happier Abroad, Escape USA, and Date Foreign Women YouTube channel. And I'm not going to be talking through this. So you're going to be hearing the voice of the Happier Abroad founder, You're going to hear the voice of the Happier Abroad founder, Winston Wu, and he's going to be breaking down some things about the Philippines and the USA / Taiwan with his friend Andrew. All right, here it is.
Hello, Winston. How are you doing?
Oh, just okay. And you?
I'm all right. I'm here in Vietnam. How's everything going in the Philippines?
It's been fun, but it's not as good as it used to be. There's a lot of inflation and higher prices now, and it's kind of lost some of its heart and soul, compared to like 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. So, but it's still fun. It has good vibes and it still has a very good energy that feels friendly and warm.
So, how did it feel when you left Taiwan, you got on the plane and went to the Philippines and and landed there?
Oh, it was just very surreal. I felt like I could unwind and just relax and be myself again. Because countries like Taiwan are just so uptight and repressed and you restrictive, and you just don't feel like you can be yourself there. It's kind of like Japan or Korea. It's just so stiff and restrictive, and everything is very serious, and uptight. And I mean, it's a similar vibe to the U.S. It's just, it's in an Oriental way.
Yeah. So how were the people when you landed in the Philippines? How were the people when you got there?
Um, I mean, they're the same, just very easygoing, relaxed, cheerful. It's just that I don't know. Maybe people are more frustrated now because of the inflation and higher costs of living um and too much social media. Um, so yeah, but that's here in Angeles City. I don't know about elsewhere. Um, yeah, I mean it still has a good vibe. It's just, the attitude here of the girls is just a lot more spoiled. They want more and give less. But it seems like everything in this world gets worse over time, except technology. So that's to be expected. That's the pattern I've noticed.
I was recently listening to a video that said,
Mm. Oh, okay.
what's going on? Okay, I was saying that I was listening to a video and it was saying if any kind of apocalypse or happens or any bad event happens, that the Philippines with its tropical weather, like you can grow your own food, you can build a farm. It's kind of sustainable living there. So that it's an archipelago, so that it may not, the Philippines may be a safe haven if anything bad happens in the world.
Oh, it could, but you could say that all over Southeast Asia. You can like go to an island and maybe build a hut or something or a house. I mean, you could do that on a remote island, I think, near Vietnam or Thailand too. But yeah, I would say Southeast Asia is a safe haven because I mean it's still more free in a lot of ways. There's less rules and restrictions, and the government doesn't bother you as much and doesn't try to control everything as much. Um, of course, there's a lot of corruption, but you're relatively more free because it's not as uptight or controlled. And I have heard of people building their own houses here, but I don't know the details or the laws about that. That might be something to research. But yeah, it
Yeah.
would be a good idea. I mean, it does feel like it's a safe haven. It feels like you're just away and from the stressful life of America and the toxicity and it's just a lot better for your mind and your soul.
Yeah, so I mean, you always say that the Philippines has like a soothing, peaceful vibe that just makes you feel good every day. Do you still have that feeling?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, some things don't change. It just doesn't have the heart and soul it had before. But that could just be me, because we kind of project ourselves onto people and the more frustrated you are with life, the more you project that outward. So that could be me, but people say that yeah, I mean there's inflation here, it's more expensive than before, and the attitude is different because the young generation now, the newer generation compared to 10 or 20 years ago is just a lot more spoiled. They want more and give less. And that's probably a global phenomenon. They're just people have lost that spark. They don't have the heart and soul they did before. So you'll notice that everywhere, but it's just the most pronounced in the USA, and also in my native country, Taiwan. You'll notice that too. Um, yeah, the younger generation is just more and more like spoiled and soulless or something. Like they just don't care. There's a lack of feeling and emotion. So you have pretty much have to talk to older people to still feel like you're still talking to a real human being.
All this happened with the smartphone and apps. Technology made everything faster. It speeded everything up with one click apps
Yeah,
and
that made it worse. Yeah.
that's why people are more they can't sit still in a room by themselves without any kind of technology. Like the people will lose their mind if they don't have their phone.
Yeah, and it's annoying because when you're out on a date here, I mean, very often the girl will be playing on her phone and ignoring you rather than bonding with you or spending quality time with you or talking to you or cuddling with you. She'd rather just play on her phone and look at videos and TikToks and stuff. And that's quite annoying. I mean, 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. Everyone just had a basic phone. And it wasn't like that at all. So that definitely made it worse, but it's just like that the quality of everything has gotten worse over time. It's just it's not just the phone. I mean, it's character, it's heart and soul, it's moral character, it's connection, it's feeling, it's emotion, it's everything just has gotten more like zombie like or NPC like over time.
I know, but
People
that
just
was
seem more and
caused
more
by
like NPC.
technology.
Yeah, it just got worse from the technology and maybe from other things too, and it's just a trend or a wave too, and it's just culture too. There's just there's more of a sense of apathy now. People are just apathetic and just don't care and more narcissistic than before. So, but it's still a lot better here than in the U.S. I mean, it's still much happier. I mean, you can still talk to strangers and have conversations, even with other expats here. There's a ton of expats here now. So there's a ton of people moving here. Even though it's gotten more expensive here, there's still a lot of people moving here and a lot of people passing through and visiting on the way to somewhere. So yeah, there's still a lot of tourists that come here and a lot of expats and a lot of new apartment buildings. And so um, it's still enjoyable, just not as good as it was before.
So
And it's easy to
can
talk to people too, yeah.
can you tell me about the cost? Because I heard that the Philippines is, someone told me that the Philippines is much more expensive than Vietnam.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course it is. But it's not just the cost, it's the value, like for each dollar you spend, you don't get the quality you would get in Vietnam or Thailand. But yeah, prices have risen, especially in the tourist areas like Angeles City, and so a lot of the restaurants you go to here, they'll be almost the same price as in America. But I'm talking about the America of the 1990s, not the America of today. Like you remember back in the 1990s, a restaurant meal was like $7 or something, and it's kind of like that here, sometimes more. Um, and there's just the main problem with the Philippines is there's no quality control. So they don't try to improve the quality, of the infrastructure, the food, the hotels, the streets. When there's like a hole on the sidewalk or in the street, nobody fixes it here. Whereas in other Asian countries, they'll try to fix it right away. So there's no quality control. So you don't get good quality for the money you spend like you do in like Thailand or Vietnam or something. They have like quality, they try to maintain a certain class, Here there's just people just don't care about quality very much, And to get good quality you have to pay extra. You have to pay like a lot more. So that's one of the drawbacks here, but the reason people come here is because um people speak English here, so there's no language barrier. And that's a big plus for Westerners because they don't want that language barrier that you might have in Thailand or the Philippines. They can just speak English. And another big plus is that um, you can stay here as long as you want by extending your visa every 2 months. Whereas in other Asian countries, it's a lot harder. I think you only get like 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, and then you have to leave the country or something in most Asian countries. But here, you can just extend the visa, your tourist visa, every 2 months and just stay here indefinitely. And so it's easy to live here and be an expat just by extending your tourist visa every 2 months. So those are two very big pluses. That's why a lot of people still come here, even though it's more expensive than other parts of Asia.
Do you have to apply for a visa before you land in the Philippines, or can you get a visa on arrival?
Yeah, you do get a visa on arrival, but after the pandemic, it seems like you have to do this online e-visa thing where you just fill out this form on the internet. I mean, it takes a while, but it's free, I think. So if you just fill that out and then show it to the airport, then you get the free visa when you arrive. And I think it's like a 1 month or a month and a half. I can't remember, something like that. And then you have to extend it after that. So yeah, you do get it on arrival.
Okay, so tell me what's your day-to-day life like there? Just what are you doing during the day? Just relaxing, having a coffee in the morning. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, every day is different and I don't plan things. I just make it up as I go along. So yeah, like if you're staying in a hotel or an apartment, you wake up and then you look for breakfast or lunch, depending on what time it is, because some people sleep late. And then after that, you might do some errands or go shopping or go to the mall. And then you might text your friends to see what they're doing, and you might text some girls to see if they're free to meet up, and then you just wing it from there. Because the walking street, which is the red light district here, it's open almost 24 hours, so you can go there in the daytime or the nighttime. So it's really up to you, or if you have a girlfriend, you would just hang out with her or go shopping with her or take her out to eat or something or walk around the mall, So it depends on your situation.
What are
And some guys just sit in the open bar and just drink all day and I don't know, it's just really chill and relaxing.
okay? So so there's a lot of freedom there.
Yeah, pretty much. And everyone defines freedom differently, but it just feels free because you don't feel like anyone's judging you or telling you what to do, and it doesn't feel like there's something trying to control you, because when you're in America, even like even if you're just at home or going around and no one's bothering you in America, it doesn't feel free because you feel this controlling hand overhead, and it's not necessarily the government, it's just the whole culture, the whole culture just feels very stressful, very uptight. It's like there's a dark aura everywhere that's very repressed. It's like you can't be yourself, so it's kind of like a spiritual energy. um it's not just about how much what the government does or what if the government controls you or anything. It's kind of like the feeling you get, the aura you get. In America, there's all this feeling of control. It's like mind control from the media, from the culture, from the environment. There's all this mind control in America. That's what people don't get about America is that even though you can walk around and do what you want and go anywhere you want, there's the mind control in America is extremely intense, and that's why people seem to walk around like zombies, like they're in a trance, because the entire culture is very heavy on the mind control, and when you're mind controlled, you don't know that you are. You have to be unmind controlled or liberated to know that you were mind controlled. That's the thing. Um, so yeah, when you walk around America, people seem like they're in a trance. They're zombie like, and because the mind control in America is like top notch, and that's ironic in America because you feel. I mean, you're told that you're free, but you're not given any freedom. So people say that they're free and think that they're free, but they don't act free. That's the key thing in America that everyone misses is that people say they're free and they're told that they're free, but they don't act free and they don't feel free. They look very uptight and repressed and controlled. So it's one of the biggest ironies in the world, and people don't like to talk about it because it's not very pleasant to admit to this. But yeah, here in the Philippines, you don't feel all this mind control around you and the repressive energy. So freedom is not just about the government. It's about or government or politics. It's about the energy, how how you feel too. The whether you're repressed or you can be yourself, whether you can be vivacious, spontaneous. See, here I can act silly and playful like a kid, and it's okay. It fits the culture. But you can't act like that in America because it's a very serious culture. You'd have to go to a party to be silly and playful in America. But usually in everyday life, you have to be very serious because it's a serious culture. And everything is uptight. You can't be playful and silly and spontaneous, like they show in children's movies. I mean, you can't be like that in real life in America. That's why there's so many movies in America, because the movies are an escape. They show you characters that are lively and playful and spontaneous because everyone wishes they could be that way, but they can't because life is serious in America. But the thing is, in a country like the Philippines, you can be that way. You can be playful, lively, and spontaneous because they're not uptight about that. They're not as repressed. So, in that sense, it's more free. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and I've often wondered why, because the information for living abroad and the option to get a passport, that information is readily available on the internet, on YouTube videos. I've seen it on news articles, mainstream sites. So Americans are finding it, and there's more and more Americans going abroad than there were before, but I've never understood why someone would choose to, like you said, Matt. We were talking about Matt. Why Matt does not want to at least try to go to another country and see it for himself.
Yeah, well, some Americans just aren't adventurous, and some people just can't move abroad. They're too attached to their home country.
I know, but
I,
there's
they
some
have to
kind
be
of
very flexible.
mental block. Like they're
Oh, of course there is. Because when you're in a comfort zone, you don't want to break it. It's even if you hate it and it's a rut, once you're in the comfort zone, it's hard to break it because, people tend to take the path of least resistance. Um, and not everyone is adventurous and open-minded to do this. So it's not for everybody. I mean, people are all different, and some people are meant to travel or move abroad, and some aren't. It's like everyone has a different path, and everyone will always say, "Oh, I mean, the people that don't leave will always say, "Oh, I have to make a living here. I have bills to pay." And what Matt told me was that he has to make videos every day in order to pay his bills and eat. So he doesn't have the financial freedom to go overseas. And that's what you'll commonly hear. Um, but yeah, I guess he could move abroad and then start making videos abroad and make his money and donations that way. But he's just not a traveler type. He's I mean, he looks miserable in his videos, and he knows about happier abroad, and I showed him a lot of pictures and stuff, but he just doesn't have the willpower, the will to do it. Some people just don't have the will to break out.
okay. Well, um, let's get back to the Philippines here. Um, is it possible for Americans or foreigners, expats, to kind of make friends with people in the Philippines, the natives?
Yeah, sort of. The thing is, most the friendships have to develop naturally. I mean, you have to click and bond with them, and that varies from person to person. But generally in Asia, I mean, people don't, you know, become close friends unless they have a lot in common and are on the same wavelength. So most friends you make are just going to be very casual and superficial, and it takes time to find really good friends that are close to you. So if you're just talking about superficial people you just say hi to every day, yeah, you can make those. But unless you have something really important in common, or you just click somehow, then most of those friendships are just going to be superficial. You know what I mean? And that varies from person to person. But I think the law of averages does guarantee it, because if you talk to strangers every day, eventually some of them will become your friends. And they might not be close friends, but they'll be casual friends. But generally, if you go out and do what you love, it seems like the universe puts you in touch with people that you vibe with and connect with a lot more than if you do nothing. So when you're out there and following your dreams or passions, it seems like the right people come along and the right friendships come along, but you have to be very active and start very proactive and start doing whatever it is that you love, so, and then the friendships come naturally. But I mean, you can't just go out with the mindset, I'm going to go out and make friends today. I mean, it has to happen naturally while you're doing what you're doing. And sometimes, you might meet someone and click, and sometimes you won't, it depends. But generally what I see here in the Philippines is that the foreign guys, the expats like us, um, they they hang out with women mostly, like a woman they're dating or whatever. Um, and sometimes with several women that are connected to the woman they're dating. But the expats here generally don't make friends with Filipino guys unless they work together or something, or are involved in something. That's the pattern I've noticed. Because men don't usually hang out unless they have something important in common. So that's why, and the guys that come here, they're interested in meeting girls. So you'll see them hanging out with Filipino girls, but you don't see them hanging out with Filipino guys unless they work together or have something important in common. Because men don't hang out with other men unless they really click, or have something in common. So so that's the pattern I've noticed. And yeah, and you can talk to expats here. They're pretty friendly, but most of the conversations you have are just going to be just, polite small talk, and that's
Yeah.
true anywhere when you travel, you're only going to click with a small percentage, but it also depends on how unique you are. If you're a normie, it might be easier for you to fit into groups and find friends than if you're someone that's too unique, like you or me, or someone kind of eccentric like I am. Where I'm going to click with a lot less people, but there's a lot of expats that are eccentric too, and because moving abroad is not something mainstream yet. I mean, it's getting mainstream, but it's not something that a mainstream person does. So usually the people that move abroad are kind of eccentric types.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I've noticed. Yeah. So yeah, but it just depends on who you click with, and it varies from person to person.
Mm.
But the law of averages works well for you, because if you meet people every day, eventually you're going to start having some friends. It's almost like the law of averages guarantees it.
Yeah.
And that's better than like in America, where you don't usually meet people every day unless it's part of your job. In America, people keep to themselves, and they value their privacy, and they're not that open. So you
Yes.
don't really meet people in America very much. And,
Yeah.
and they're paranoid too. Yeah, people are paranoid in
Paranoid.
America.
Paranoid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Americans, I think this is happening in a lot of westernized countries, not just America. It's just that the individualism is taken to a new level. Like everyone is so much of an individual that there's literally a lack of any kind of shared community. Like we're all in this together, like because everyone is just I'm doing what I'm doing, you do what you do, and we don't talk to each other or something. And
Yeah, I mean, individualism is fine. It's good to be yourself and to be unique. But the problem in America is there's a divide and conquer strategy where people are paranoid of each other and they don't really like each other. You don't get the sense that people in America like other people. That's why roommates in America usually don't get along, because there's this misanthropic vibe where people don't like each other. And you feel that in America a lot, that people don't like each other, and they're paranoid, and there's just not a feeling of closeness or trust in America. Even within families, there's often a feeling of disconnection or alienation and a lack of trust and a lack of closeness, you know. So,
Yeah. So I
so,
want
so
to
the
ask.
problems in America, yeah. So the problems in America is not just political or economic, like Tucker Carlson claims. It's also, you know, that it's an unfriendly culture too. There's a lack of human connection. There's a lack of genuine friendship and closeness. And people in the alternative media, like Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan, they don't talk about this in the, I mean, in the big famous alternative media, the big media. They don't, I mean, the famous people in the media don't talk about any of this. That's the thing. I mean, it is growing on YouTube, moving abroad, like you said, but the big media people like Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson, they never talk about this. They act like all the problems in America are related to politics, to corruption and stuff, and economics. But that's not the only problem America has. It has a lot more. There's the bad culture, bad human connection. There's a lack of friendliness, you know, but nobody talks about that except for us, you know. For some
It's
reason,
just
it's taboo to talk about that because I think in American culture, you're kind of taught to blame yourself, you know.
yeah, it's just like people. There's no one in the U.S. right now to stand up like like a major figure like you said, Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan, to literally stand up and say, look. You can have a better life living abroad. You can have a happier life, a more calmer, relaxed life in another country. No one says that. No major figure.
No, they all want you to stay in America and try to fix everything and take your country back, which is futile because you can't, you know, change America or something. I mean, it is the way it is. You know, it's an empire, and you know, one person is not going to change a whole country. And even if that was possible, you know, once you change things, they would just change back again. You know, because you know, if the system is corrupt and you change it's just going to go back to the way it was because it's not just the system. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just a moral darkness too. It's a cultural darkness too, and a spiritual darkness. It's not just that the system is bad. I mean, if everyone was very good and moral and wholesome, I mean, any system could work. But you know, it's when you have corrupt people in the system, then any system's going to fail because you know the few are going to take advantage and control the many, um and you know the people at the top are above the law and can get away with anything. Um, so yeah, it's not
Yeah,
just corrupt political corruption; it's the whole moral fabric and spiritual dark thing too.
yeah. It's like the U.S. is an entity or something that's just that thinks it's the center of the world. That there's no other country that's even comes close to the U.S. And whenever I go to another country, I've been to 13 countries. People routinely talk about traveling, and I went here. I was in this country. They just don't say this in the U.S. They don't say, "Oh, I just went here," unless you're in like New York City, or unless you're around well-traveled people in the U.S., which I was not in Tennessee. But it just seems like the U.S. There's so many forces in the U.S. Like major political figures or Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, they never ever ever like I wish Joe Rogan would bring someone on his show and say and have them talk about living abroad in different countries and the advantages and disadvantages of different countries and living abroad. But he does not do that. Every person he brings on it has nothing to do with living outside of the US. Keep going.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, because it's unpatriotic to say that if you leave the U.S., you can have a better life. I mean, to say that is very unpatriotic, and it would piss off his audience if he said that. So he's not going to say something that's going to make his audience mad because he could lose his subscribers. So yeah, it's still considered unpatriotic to talk about this,
Why
because
doesn't
you're supposed to
let me
love your
ask you this.
country.
Let me ask you this. Why doesn't Matt have any video on his channel about living abroad?
Well, he has these things called not milk travel tours, where he goes he shows you like pictures from different countries, and then he makes fun of them and ridicules them. But he does it for humor's sake. I mean, he does it to poke fun at other countries, and he thinks that wherever he goes, the not milk will follow him. Which is like the Matrix. Like we're in some type of simulation or artificial reality, and so wherever you go, there's some type of AI that's following you and going to create trouble, and that could be true to some extent, because every place is going to have pros and cons, and there's no perfect place, but the thing is, you can be happier abroad, in a place like here, even though it's not problem free. Because when you come here, of course, there's going to be pros and cons, but I mean, you can still be a lot happier and freer here, and people like Matt can't do that. They're just not adventurous. They just don't have the will to travel, or the will to live abroad. I mean, when he gets in his comfort zone, he doesn't want to break it.
Can I go back to what you were saying earlier? You were touching on something. You said dark forces. Do you think that, what do you think about dark forces in the U.S.? Or what do you mean?
Well, I just mean like the moral and spiritual degradation, um, and yeah, and it has to do with culture and spirituality too, because I heard that like back in the 1950s, there was really good family values and high moral standard in America, and businesses had to be really honest. And after the 1950s, it seemed like something happened, and America started losing its moral values and family values, and people just became more and more degenerate, and now like so many people have tattoos everywhere, and you'd never see that. Even in the 1980s, people didn't have tattoos in America. So, um, and too much wokeism and leftism and feminism, and there's all this debate about issues and equality and Me Too and cancel culture and just all this stuff that is unnecessary, because you don't have to have men versus women or black versus white people. All you have to do is just tell everyone to respect each other and to treat each other with kindness and respect and fairness, and that's it. You don't have to talk about race or gender. It's unnecessary. So it's like there's a lot of divide and conquer in America just to piss people off. And
I'm going to say something
so yeah,
that,
but I mean, even Christians talk about some type of spiritual darkness in America, that it's just just a moral decline and a cultural decline. So even the Christian community talks about that. It's not just us. So, but yeah, I mean, like the new generation today doesn't have the values that our parents did. There's less heart and soul, and people seem less human than before.
okay,
So it's all of that, all of that.
what you just said is probably the most important thing that we're talking about right now. Your explanation of that, of how the values, morals, honesty, ethics have degraded from the 1950s to where it is now. That is such an interesting point you just made. So,
Yeah, and you can see that in the family values, the culture, the music. Because music used to be very wholesome, and then it started becoming more and more degenerate and stuff, and especially with the rock music and the Beatles and stuff, and it signaled sort of a cultural decline. And then you see the movies, they used to be wholesome too, and then they started becoming declining and becoming more and more degenerate and amoral, and so you see it in the culture everywhere, and in the people too. If you look at people in the 1950s, they look a lot more wholesome and friendly too. Or if you watch the movies from that back then. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
there is a decline, and it all declined with everything. I mean, inflation is a signal of the decline to moral values. It's like everything gets worse over time, except for technology. Even if you go to like that chain restaurant, Denny's, you have that in Tennessee, right? Um, I mean, it used to be good food for the decent prices, and now it's Denny's is expensive and the quality has gone down. So they always raise prices and lower the quality. So in that sense, things get worse over time too. It's everything. The only thing that gets better is technology, like AI or CGI or something, or your smartphone. That gets better over time, but everything else gets worse, and it's not worth it. The trade-off is not worth it.
Wow.
It's
And
like, yeah.
that's such interesting points you just made, and you really you hit it. And we can't, and there's no way to go back in time. There's no way that we can restore those values and ethics and morals and way of life anymore.
Yeah, because we don't know what's causing it. I mean, it could be engineered, that way, or it could be just the law of entropy. In the law of entropy, everything just degrades over time, like the quality of things just go down over time because that's just the law of entropy. If it's that, then there's nothing you can do about it. There has to be some great reset to make things new again. But if it's all engineered, like it's part of a conspiracy or something, then maybe it can be reversed somewhat because everything goes in cycles. Um, and so far, I don't see anything getting better. Up and down cycle, I don't see anything getting better except for technology. So um, it doesn't look good, but all you can do is take care of yourself and go where you're happy and try to make the best life you can. Like you found a great place in Vietnam, so you go there, find your location, find your niche, and then make the best of your life. You can't change the world.
Yep. We're going to have to stop and restart because we're on Zoom. So let's just.
Okay.
Okay, so we were talking about how just to find the best place in the world to have a good life.
Yeah, because you can't control an entire country or society. You can only control your own life. Um, and the good news is you don't have to like become rich or successful or a star or something like that. I mean, you don't have to become rich or famous or something. I mean, all you have to do is plan your life, find the right location, move abroad, and go to a place that has what you want, and then you can be free and have a better life. It's not it it's not. I mean, it's very achievable. It's realistic. It's achievable. The only problem is you have to find a portable income of some kind, like a passive income or something, because when you live abroad, it's not always easy to teach English or get a job, but that depends on your situation. So it's best to have money saved up, and then you can budget it while you're abroad. But the thing is, all of this is achievable. I mean, you don't have to become a Olympic athlete or a basketball star or something that's unachievable. If you want to live somewhere abroad, it's very achievable and practical. And all you have to do is research it and find a common sense plan.
Hmm.
That's the good news is that our solution is achievable. Whereas trying to change America or take back your country like Tucker Carlson wants, that's not achievable. You see the difference? But everyone hears
Yes.
his message and not mine, even though his message is not achievable, but mine is. You see, that's the great irony.
Well, normal people who cannot think independently and, think outside the box are going to follow whatever the system gives them. And, free thinkers, independent thinkers are going to search for the truth. They're going to come up with their own belief system by themselves.
Yeah, usually if this is meant for you, you'll find it somehow, whether through a friend like you did, or through a YouTube video, or through a website. You know, a lot of my expat friends told me that they discovered going abroad from a friend, or maybe from a website or video. I think you said you discovered it through a friend too, and one of my Italian friends said that he discovered my website while searching for something, and then he left London to come to the Philippines. Um, so it seems like if it's meant for you, you'll discover it somehow. Maybe your subconscious mind will, or whatever your higher self will lead you to it, or whatever,
I, I have to say one thing because about Taiwan and what we were talking about previously about how there's been a degradation of the culture in the U.S. From where it is now, from where it was to in the 50s. Taiwan, people seem very well behaved there and respectful, and everything works and functions properly. So that's got to be a big pro to Taiwan.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you like efficiency and good infrastructure, I mean, then Taiwan is okay, and it's super safe too, you know. But that's true of most of Asia. I mean Asians are not really violent, you know, so you're not going to be mugged or attacked. I mean, you might be scammed in Asia, but you're not going to be attacked or hit, you know, or with violence. So if you like safety, Asia is a really good place for you because people are not violent at all. And yeah, most Asian countries have pretty good infrastructure. I mean, China does too, and I think the infrastructure in Vietnam is much better than before. It's improved. But yeah, Taiwan does have good infrastructure and efficiency. The problem is the culture is just very sterile, you know. You can't act wild or playful or spontaneous or vivacious or gregarious in Taiwan because it's very, very serious and repressed. The people are
Sure,
all business. Yeah, that's the
but
problem. It's not fun there. It's not fun there, but it's safe. Yeah.
I understand that, but maybe that's the reason why so many expats go to Taiwan because they simply just want a very safe, quiet place to live.
Some do, but you know, but I mean, it gets kind of boring after a while because it's hard to make friends or have fun there. But it really depends on how well you fit in. You know, some people can fit in well, especially in the capital city of Taipei. You know, but when you go down south, you know, it's much more conservative and people are just not open-minded to making friends. Whereas the big city like Taipei is more cosmopolitan. So if you stayed there for a while, you might be able to meet more people or something, but it's just very sterile, you know. And I don't actually think there's a lot of people living in Taiwan, not expats. Most of the people you see in Taipei are tourists. They're not actually living there. I mean, there is a big language barrier there, so it's not going to be as popular as, say, the Philippines. Because when you come to the Philippines, you can speak English, and so that's why it's so popular. If you came here to Angeles City, you would see thousands of expats everywhere, um, and tourists too. Um, but it's it's hard to tell. I mean, you have to check the statistics because when you see a lot of foreigners here, you don't know whether they're living here or just visiting. I mean, you'd have to stop each one and ask them, and you can't do that with a lot of people, you know. So when you see a lot of people in Taipei, probably most of them I think are just tourists. They're not expats. Um, I don't know. You would have to look that up, the statistics, but that's my impression. Because there is a huge language barrier in Taiwan, and when you're a tourist there, I think you only get like a 3 month visa, which is very generous. You get a 3 month tourist visa when you go to Taiwan, but and that's a really long time, but it's not long enough to be an expat or something.
And Winston, they speak Mandarin, is that right?
Yeah, Mandarin and Taiwanese in
Oh,
Taiwan.
oh, okay. But is Taiwanese a derivative of Mandarin or like a
No, it's a local dialect, and it came from a province in China called Fujian, Fujian or something, and that province is right next to Taiwan, across the harbor, across the bay. So it's called Hokkien or something. The language is called Hokkien in Fujian province, and so when they emigrated to Taiwan, the Hokkien language became Taiwanese, and so the words are almost the same.
hmm, okay?
So if you
And
went to Fujian, huh?
keep going.
I was saying if you went to Fujian province, they would speak Taiwanese there too, because that's where it came from.
Okay. And are you fluent in both?
No, I just speak the basics. I speak a little more Taiwanese than Mandarin, um, but I just know enough to say basic things like where are you from, how much does this cost, and I just know enough to order food and stuff. Um, but if I was like in a bank or a hospital, I wouldn't be able to use Chinese at all because that's a totally different thing than just buying food.
Yeah. Um, I can't because I was there. I remember being in Taiwan, but I can see how if it can be very lonely if you don't have some kind of circle or friends there. Um,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it feels very isolating if you don't have a circle or a group. But the thing is, it's hard to make friends there because people there are not looking to make friends. They have their own life, their own privacy. They're just not open to making friends. And even when you do make friends in Taiwan, they tend to be very superficial friends. They're not good friends that want to hang out and want to be there for you. They tend to be very superficial. But some people do fit in there. I mean, I've noticed that if you're very reserved yourself, you might fit into a country where people are very reserved, like in Taiwan. But the thing is, I'm not very reserved, and I don't vibe with Taiwanese culture that much. It's way too serious and uptight, and so it doesn't fit my personality. Um, so I'm more like a Westerner, more westernized. But there are people that are very reserved that seem to fit into Taiwan very well, and I don't know. It's very intangible. I mean, some people just like it there. But I think the people that go to Taiwan already have some type of attraction to it, and that's why they went there in the first place. But it's not like that for me because for me, my parents came from there, and that's the only reason I'm there. I didn't go there because I'm attracted to the culture there.
do you think that if you were born and raised in Taiwan, if you went to high school there, that you would have developed more high school friends and kept them, for years?
Maybe, but maybe not because I'm different from other Asians and Asian Americans. Because I think my soul is different. I'm more of a free thinker and free spirit, whereas Asians tend to be all about career and making money and achieving something in terms of job and career. So they follow a very conventional path, like the typical Asian American, for example. They're not just westernized. There's an Asian American culture and community where everyone aspires to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, a businessman, whatever. They aspire to have a really good career that's prestigious. I mean, and so they're very focused on being successful and um, being able to buy a nice house and having a good job. Oh shoot, we have to do.
Okay, my
Oh,
Wi-Fi
okay.
just went dropped.
Okay. Yeah, I'm recording this too, so I'm getting the parts that we miss.
It's okay. You were talking about Asian Americans.
Yeah, I
Can-
mean, most Asian Americans do follow Asian American culture. They're all about having a good career and being successful, and they're not free thinkers. For example, the typical Asian American is not just career oriented. They believe everything the media says, the government says, the medical establishment says. They don't question things. They conform. And so it's not about me growing up in America. It's just that I'm a natural free thinker and free spirit. So even though I'm Asian American, I grew up in America, the other Asians that grew up in America are not like me, and I'm not like them. So it's not just about me being westernized or growing up in California. I mean, I'm different at the soul level too. And people don't seem to get that because most people think we're just a product of the environment and we just reflect whatever our culture says. But I'm not like that because I think for myself. That's why I can say all these things. If I
So,
couldn't think for myself, everything I say would be just full of cliches.
wh- when did you first discover, your ideas about becoming happier abroad? At what age? When did
Well, I first went abroad in 2002 um, to try to find a Russian bride in Russia. So I guess 2002 would be when I first started seriously going abroad. Because before that, I just went to Taiwan or Canada or something, and
did your
it didn't
parents
really count.
did your parents give you the option to live abroad? Did they tell you about it?
No, I mean they just wanted me to be happy and find my place and settle down. But America offered me nothing. I mean, I couldn't find a place. I couldn't click there. I didn't resonate with the culture. I never felt comfortable in my own skin because American culture is like, really, it's really full of fakeness and BS. And if you're really, really authentic, you're not going to fit in there. You're really, really soulful. And the thing is, I thrive on being a free spirit, being passionate, being romantic, and America doesn't offer those things because it's just very workaholic. People live to work there, and they're very serious. And so, if you live for romance or passion or creativity, there's just no place for you there. And my soul doesn't fit into America either because it's just um, too isolating, and too businesslike, and just too there's just too much BS in the culture. So I've never
Yeah,
been compatible with it energetically, you know.
we
Um,
there. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Keep going.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
When you started to say to, that, I thought about how I've heard some people on the internet say that we're in the decline of an empire, that America as an empire is declining, is it's being like we're at a like end time of like America. Some people are saying that it's going to it that it will eventually like fall or something due to the degradation of the culture.
Well, when they talk about the decline of the American empire, it's not just the culture. They're talking about that the petrodollar might end. And that's why America keeps getting involved in the Middle East because if they don't control the oil and the oil is not connected to the dollar, then the American empire could fall. So that's more about the petrodollar because it is not just the Middle East because I heard that China is the manufacturing hub of the world and they also keep their reserve currency in US dollars. And if China decides not to do that anymore, then the American empire could collapse too. So there's a lot of threats to the American hegemony and the dollar. So they have to keep the dollar afloat. And the thing is, they're printing the dollar out of nothing. It's fiat currency, so they have to keep spending, putting money somewhere to keep the dollar afloat. So they might have to keep, that's another reason they keep funding wars and doing all these things that don't benefit us because they have to put their money somewhere to keep the dollar afloat. But they never tell us that, of course, because the stuff they tell us in the media is like a cartoon version of the events. It's not what's really going on. I mean, but there's a lot of YouTube videos that talk about this. But like that Chinese professor, Professor Jiang, Jiang, like he breaks this down in easy to understand terms about the American Empire and what's happening and stuff. And um, but yeah, there's already a ton of YouTube videos about this all the time. Um, that's what people talk about. It's the petrodollar and the dollar being the reserve currency, and that's how it keeps America afloat. Um, because you remember what I heard is that Richard Nixon, okay, um, when he went to China and maybe the Middle East or something, he established the deal where the U.S. dollar was attached to oil in the Middle East, and so he made some type of deal with Saudi Arabia and China to keep the dollar afloat. So in Saudi Arabia, the dollar was attached to the oil there, and and that's what kept it afloat. And then the dollar was attached to China, to its manufacturing hub, um, and so China promised to buy U.S. dollars, and in exchange, the U.S. would buy Chinese stuff made from China. So those were the deals made in the 70s that kept the dollar afloat. Otherwise, it might have crashed too. So they have to keep doing things to keep it afloat. That's the American empire. It's not. It's an empire of finance. You got to understand the American empire is an empire of finance, and that's what America controls is the finance of the world.
Yeah. I mean, but with what's going on with Iran, you know, I it's because war is about money. It's about, there's a financial thing behind war. I don't think that Donald Trump would be doing this if it wasn't going to, do something for the economy.
Yeah,
You
that
know, but
Chinese professor Zhang talked about that too. That Trump has to do this to keep the dollar afloat or something because Iran is a threat to the petrodollar. But it's also possible Trump might be compromised and blackmailed to invade Iran too because of the Epstein files. They might have blackmailed him, and so he's kind of controlled, because they have leverage on him. So that's another possibility too. Um,
we need
but yeah, but I
rock.
think all politicians are controlled and leveraged to some extent.
It would be great to have rock with us right now to discuss what's going on in the world and the economy.
Yeah, well, he would probably say the same thing. I mean, I think he knows about the petrodollar too and the economics of it.
Exactly. Well, you're okay. Well,
But
I don't know.
anyways, yeah, I mean, we're focused on culture here and personal happiness, and um, unfortunately, the self-help movement doesn't talk about what we talk about. They always want you to stay in America and improve yourself and to blame yourself too. That's why a lot of people don't know about this because the self-help movement in America tells you to blame yourself and to fix yourself. It doesn't tell you to move abroad.
Mhm.
Because American culture is also very victim blaming. That's why people don't see this because they're taught to blame themselves. And so they can't see that it's their culture and that if they move abroad, they'll have a happier life because, they're taught not to see that. You're taught in America to blame yourself.
Right.
So that creates a big blind spot. It creates a big blind spot. That's why most
So
people don't see this.
so I have to ask you, which country would you say in the world, if you had to choose one country to live in for the rest of your life and just only one country, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's good to live in several countries because because different countries have different benefits, and so it's good to have different countries within the same continent to move around. Like, like 1 month I visit Vietnam, 1 month I visit Thailand, 1 month in Cambodia, 1 month in Philippines. But it really depends on how adventurous you are. Some people don't like to do that. They like to settle down right away. They like to find greener
but
pastures to settle down. Well, I haven't. I've only been to like.
which country resonates with you the most? Like that is like your go-to place to be happy.
Well, my close friends, like Lucas, told me that I would probably be happiest in continental Europe. Um, because in Europe, people have deeper souls and you can have deeper conversations. They're not I mean, they don't live to work and they're not as practical as Asians are and Americans are. Um, so yeah, my British friend Lucas said that I would probably fit into like Spain or somewhere Mediterranean or maybe Latin America where people are more soulful and fun. But the thing is, I haven't been to all these countries yet, so I'm just speculating based on my impression. Um, but I think wherever it is, you can find a good wife or girlfriend, is where you might be happiest, and that's different for everybody. Some people come here and they find a stable partner, and some people don't. Some people just have short-term partners, and they keep changing the girl they date, and so it depends on the guy. Some people settle down right away, and some people don't. But yeah, I think I resonate most with somewhere in Europe. I think because I do have a feeling like I've had past lives in Europe, so I feel much more drawn and attached there, and people there are more like me. They're more open-minded and free-spirited and not as practical or materialistic like Americans and Asians are. Because I'm not materialistic. That's why I'm not like other Asians. Asians tend to be very practical and pragmatic, and I'm not like that. So Asia is not a good fit for my soul. But I like it in that it's low cost of living and it has good food, and the women in Asia are very feminine. So there's a lot of good things I like about Asia, but it's not a natural fit for my soul because I'm not practical or pragmatic or materialistic. And Asians tend to be extremely pragmatic and practical. So at a soul level, I don't fit into Asia, but I do like many things about it. It can be a happier place if you pick the right country.
Yeah, but not definitely not the U.S.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. is it's not just in decline. I just never felt it was a friendly place. Even in the 1980s, I didn't feel that people were friendly in America because they were just very cliquish, and they stopped talking to their neighbors in like 1984. They started becoming more and more closed off and pretentious and obsessed with image and you can see this in the music videos too. In the 1980s, people just became very pretentious and very snobby and cliquish and just not very friendly anymore. So this is not something new. I never felt America was friendly even in the 80s. I just didn't feel accepted. People just didn't like who I was or who I am. Um, so in America, it's not just about the politics or high cost of living or expensiveness or whatever. I just never felt comfortable in my own skin, and I never felt accepted. You see, when you don't fit into America or you don't fit in, it's like every social group in America, even in school, they just push you out. Do you notice that? Like when you don't fit in, every social group that you see, there's just this wall of energy that pushes you out. It's like the cliques don't want you. They don't accept you because you
I
just don't click.
I had the same problem in high school. I was not in any clique at all. And
Yeah, it's like when you don't fit in, you notice that in high school immediately right away because the cliques just push you out. You don't click with anyone and no one wants you in and you can't do anything about it. because you don't click with anyone. So it doesn't matter how friendly you are or how good your social skills are. If you don't click with anyone in high school, the social groups kick you out. You can feel this wall of energy pushing you out, and you can't do anything about it. There's no solution because you can't force a friendship. If you don't click with people, you're not meant to be their friend, and there's nothing you can do about it because you can't force a friendship, you know. That's the tragedy, you know. When you're a misfit, that's the tragedy. It's a no-win situation.
I wonder, I wonder if they have I just don't think they have that here in Vietnam. Like I've walked past schools, the kids just look like they're just all happy and playing together, even like and I don't think that they have cliques here. I mean, people here in general inclusive. They're not excluding you. They're more including you.
Yeah, I don't know about cliques in Vietnam, but I was sort of part of a Vietnamese clique when I was in college because my first girlfriend was Vietnamese, and when I hung out with her family and friends, it was sort of like being in their clique. And we were together for like maybe 2 years or so, and so I sort of felt like, you know, I was part of their clique, and but I don't know if that would constitute a clique because, you know, I naturally was just in their clique because I was dating a Vietnamese girl.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe the cliques in Vietnam are not as exclusive, you know, and maybe they're more inclusive. Because when I say clique, I don't mean just any group of people. A clique is usually exclusive. They're very picky about who they let in, and you have to prove yourself to be in a clique.
But
So
the
a clique,
culture, the, the,
uh-huh.
the culture here in Vietnam is collectivism. It's Remember, their flag has one star on it. I asked a Vietnamese doctor one time what the meaning of her flag means. She said, "Your flag has 50 stars. Our flag has one star because we're one people." So they have a sense that they're all in it together. Like, of course, there's bullying here, and there's like, petty things like that, but the overall culture is everyone's together, like inclusive. There's no like, oh, look at that outsider, look at that weirdo, look at that misfit. That just doesn't happen here that much.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it depends on culture too, because some cultures are just really cliquish and some aren't. I mean, Taiwan is very cliquish too. I mean, it's similar to America in that sense.
I know, but
Some-
if you were growing up in Taiwan, you went to school in Taiwan, do you think you would make friends there?
yeah, I'd make some, you know, but the thing is, if you don't click with your friends in school, they eventually drift apart and forget you. Because in America, you know, friends drift apart easily too, even if they were formed in high school. Because there's not that strong bond or closeness between people in America. They kind of drift apart easily. But it depends. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a really good friend that you're close to and that's there for you through thick and thin, then that would be great. But that's not easy to find. Most people don't get that kind of a friend, you know, like the kind of good quality friendships you see in the movies. In the movies, they always show these really good quality friendships that last through thick and thin, and it's you don't usually find that in real life. I mean, I have some friendships that are like that, but um, they're with people in different countries, you know, like people that share the same views that I do, you know. But I don't think most people have close friends where they can talk about anything, you know. But my close friends are living in all over the place and stuff, and um, but yeah, I'm lucky enough to have like maybe 10 people I can talk to about anything. You know, there's like an instant comfort zone and stuff. So But I don't think the average person has that, because most friends you have, I mean, they're kind of like, there's kind of like a fine line between what's appropriate and what's not. And a lot of these superficial friendships, just one argument ends it and they block you. But of course, those aren't real friendships. Those are like acquaintances. So a lot of friendships are just acquaintances. They're not real friendships. You know what I mean? It really depends on your definition of what a friend is. Because people say a real friend is with you during the good times and the bad times and will stick by you and not flake out on you, you
That's
know?
true. That's true.
So yeah, that's the test. You have to look at what people do and not what they say. Anyone can say that you're my friend. Oh yeah, but it's what they do that counts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going off on a tangent here. But yeah, I mean, some countries are just cliquish and some aren't, and some people naturally fit into cliques and some don't. But it depends on who you click with.
Bill, do they
I
have
mean,
do that?
the thing
Is
is,
it
we are
cliquish in the
unique and eccentric,
Philippines?
so we're not. Not really. It's pretty inclusive, but the thing is, when you go up to the middle class level in the Philippines, then they start becoming cliquish and snobbish, like Americans, because people that have money and come from middle class families, they're going to be very much more picky about who they hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to be that open minded. And you notice this with a lot of middle class people, they're just not very open minded, and they tend to be more cliquish. I noticed that people that are poor tend to be less cliquish than people that are middle class or higher. So it might be an economic thing too.
Yeah,
Um,
like maybe I don't know, guard. They're trying to guard something or guard their value or
well, yeah,
guard
they're
their.
just picky. The middle class people are just picky about who they hang out with, and they have a thing called delayed gratification. Like they don't act on their impulses, whereas lower class people in the Philippines, they act on their impulses. When they want something, they want it right away. They don't have the concept of delayed gratification. Whereas a middle class person has a lot of self control and they delay their gratification. They don't act spontaneously or wildly on impulse. That's why middle class people don't flirt that much like lower class people do here. Because when you flirt, it's kind of like something fun you do. And it's accepted here, but middle class people don't tend to do that because they tend to be more reserved, and picky and they have tighter boundaries. Just like the middle class people in the American suburbs. They're like that too. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, most people here, yeah, I mean, it's fairly inclusive. But like I said, most people you meet here are just going to be superficial acquaintances, friendly and polite, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be like a really good friend or even a romantic partner or date. It just really depends on who you click with and who you meet.
yeah,
So,
but
so it
I
varies,
mean,
yeah.
isn't it interesting because now, Winston, you've gained so many friends and you have so many friends now. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, but that's like over a period of many years. Like I mean, I meet a lot of people, and most of them eventually fizzle out or forget you or flake out or something. But the quality friends are the ones that stick behind and still talk to you and still call you and still want to hang out because there's more of a real connection there. And so it's kind of like a weeding out process. Like if you meet a lot of people every year, and eventually most of them are eventually flake out or something or forget you. The ones that are still standing are the ones that are your real friends, that have more of a connection.
Yeah. Um,
So, and I'm pretty outgoing too. So yeah. So, but a lot of my friends are just free thinkers like we are. They're just in the same camp. They're on the same wavelength as we are.
Yeah,
Um,
are all of your friends that you have now, are they real like deep thinkers, truth seekers type people?
oh yeah, most of them are.
Yeah.
Most of them are, because we're on the same wavelength.
Okay.
Um, yeah, most of them are, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you date women in Asia, they're not usually going to be free thinkers or truth seekers. They're because people here are very practical, so they're focused on survival and money. That's just how
Oh,
Asian women are. They're not. You're not going to have an intellectual connection so much
yeah. Yeah.
with Asian women. So I don't know if you can find a good girlfriend with good character and good values, then you can still have a relationship. I mean, you just can't expect her to talk about philosophy with you. You have to talk about that with your other friends.
But
So
Asian women are some of the best women for relationships and marriage.
yeah, because they're feminine, and if they have good values, they can make a good partner or a good wife, and so um, they still have traditional values. So if you can find a good one, then you can still have a good relationship. I mean, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna click on internet intellectual subjects, because people in general are in Asia are very practical. They're not gonna think about abstract things. So you'd have, if you want to have deep conversations, you'd have to talk to your male friends or European friends or some Western women. I have a few Western women friends too that I have deep conversations with too. So, um, but yeah, but I mean, okay,
Okay, so I guess we'll just kind of make a conclusion here. Um, this was a great talk, a lot of good points, good conversation. Is there anything you wanted to go over?
yeah, I don't know if we covered anything new. Maybe we just rehashed the same thing as before, um, but it's important because, like I said, you can't change your society. You can only change your own life and improve it. But the self-help movement never tells you to go abroad. They always tell you to blame yourself or fix yourself. So this message is very suppressed. The self-help movement doesn't talk about it either, about moving abroad or changing location or something. It's just taboo. So it needs to get out.
Sure, sure.
That's
Um,
the important thing, yeah.
are you planning on staying in the Philippines
It's like
long
you
term?
said, no one talks about it. Not really, because just like it's hard to be a vegetarian here because everything has meat in there, and it's a lot of work trying to find food if you're a vegetarian. And um, yeah, and it's harder and harder to date decent women here. Unless you're just looking for fun, it's harder to find decent women here because the quality has just gone down, and you'd have to do a lot of work using dating sites or something, and it's just a lot of trouble. And yeah, I'd like to see someplace nice and clean, like where you're at, Vietnam or Thailand or something, or Cambodia. I had a very good impression of Cambodia and Thailand. I mean, it was so easy to be a vegetarian there and to find good food, and it's just everything just feels like it has class and quality. You just don't see so many ghetto areas like you do in the Philippines. There's too much ghetto areas here. So You know what's funny is in a third world country like this, what you'll find is like there's a nice four-star hotel or a five-star hotel in one part of town, and then when you walk out, you see a slum right across from you, a ghetto slum area right next to a five-star hotel. It's really weird, you know. It's like that's how third world countries are. I heard they build a nice hotel next to a slum. You'll see that pretty often here. Um,
Wow. Um,
but yeah, I mean, it's fun here, but yeah, I get kind of tired of being here, and um, but I do enjoy my friends here, and also hanging out with my son's mom, you know, who's still a very close friend of mine, and so I do enjoy it, but I would much rather be in a nicer country with better infrastructure and food and value, like where you're at, you know. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would be happy in Vietnam. I think I would in the short term, but the long term is harder to tell, you know.
yeah. You
But a
may,
lot of it depends on who you meet and who you click with too, you know. I mean, you might find a great girl to date in Vietnam and someone else might not, you know. It depends on who you meet too.
sure.
So,
Well,
did you have other questions or?
yeah. Uh, so you said that you can go to the Philippines on a visa and then extend it indefinitely?
Yeah, I think you have to leave the country like maybe once every 3 years. So it's almost indefinitely. Um, but yeah, I mean, but you do have to pay the visa extension fees, which depending on your budget can be expensive or not. Um, because I think it runs like maybe $100 for every extension, maybe sometimes 200. Um,
With
but yeah, it
with
depends on your budget. But
with
that's
the
so it's easy to be an expat here, huh? You
with
just
the
have to
ex
extend the visa.
when you do the extension, do you have to leave the country and then come back in?
Oh no, no, you just go to the immigration office and pay the extension fee, and then pick up your passport. You have
Oh,
it done in one afternoon. Um, so it's very easy. You just have to pay for it, and so you can stay indefinitely as an expat here. It's very easy, much easier than other countries. Because I think in Vietnam you have to leave the country once in a while, right?
yes.
You can't
No,
just extend
you
your
have to
visa.
leave the country every time that your visa expires.
Oh, but you can come back right away, right?
You can, but they're going to change the law in 2026.
Oh, yeah, because otherwise you'd have to like buy a business visa or a permanent resident visa or a student visa, or if you get married, then a spousal visa, and that is more complicated. It's much easier to just extend a tourist visa.
Yeah.
I think most of Asia is like that. I mean, you can't just extend your visa. You have to leave and come back or something.
Oh,
Um,
yawning because it's so late here. Anyway,
but I think in Vietnam, you get like when you enter, you get like a 3 month visa, right?
you do. It is 90
Oh,
days.
that's very generous, though. I mean, that's a pretty long time. I mean,
It is, and the visa and what I've been doing is leaving Vietnam and going right back in. Um,
yeah, and flights are cheap too. I looked online, and it's like from Philippines to Vietnam is like $70 or something one way.
oh,
So
I
that's really cheap.
what site do you use to check flights?
I use Skyscanner and I also use Google Flights. It looks at all the flights on all the search engines and shows you the best prices. But the thing is, if you're leaving every 3 months and coming back, you could just take a $70 flight here to the Philippines and then come back after you visit the Philippines. I mean, that's very convenient and not so far away.
Sure,
So 3 months is pretty generous. I mean, that could be workable too.
it is. Yeah. Have you ever thought about going to Japan?
Yeah, just for the culture, I don't think I would fit in there because it's like Taiwan, it's very reserved, and I'm not really reserved, and it's probably more expensive too. So I think that would be great for like a short-term vacation because it does have amazing culture there and it's clean and safe. But I don't think I would fit in there as an expat or anything. I mean, I just
Okay.
don't resonate with East Asia that much.
What about you said that China was much more outgoing and friendly.
Well, compared to Taiwan in America, yes, because it's easier to talk to strangers there, and it's easier to chat up girls and women there. They're more open to talking to strangers than in Taiwan or America. So
Yeah.
so it's easier to make friends and just talk to strangers or um, find a girl to chat with. I don't. It may not be easier to date because Chinese women are kind of picky and they prefer their own race most of the time. But most foreigners that go there, you can find a Chinese girlfriend if they really try. So it's very possible. Um, but I just like to talk to strangers and make small talk, and China's good for that because they're not as paranoid about talking to strangers as they are in Taiwan or America. And nobody tells you this though for some reason because China has so much negative press coverage and the Western media always likes to say negative things about it. So you
All the
don't hear the
Chinese,
positives.
all the Chinese people I've ever met are very proud. They all have this very, uh, you know, proud confidence about them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I noticed that when I went to China, that people are more confident in their own skin. Like when people walk in China, they don't look like they're paranoid or afraid of strangers. There's a confidence there, and it's similar to when you go to Moscow. In Russia, you'll see people walk without any paranoia. But when you see people walking in Taiwan or America, they look very timid and afraid, like they're trained to be weak and paranoid of other people, So that's why it's easier to talk to people there because they're more confident and thick-skinned. They
Yeah,
don't get riled up when you say something politically incorrect.
it's like when the system that you're in is making you stressed and putting you in a state of fear and just promoting, you know, and it just feels like there's not a lot of freedom.
Yeah, that's ironic because in a country like Taiwan, it's super safe. It's clean and safe. So there's nothing to be paranoid of. But the people are still paranoid because they live in fear and they're weak. But you go to Mexico and there's more crime and it's less safe than Taiwan. But people don't look paranoid of other people. Same in Russia. Russia has a lot of corruption and the streets are not as safe as in Asia. But the people don't look paranoid of other people. Whereas in Taiwan, it's super safe but people look paranoid. It's a very big irony.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's like they're conditioned to live in fear and weakness, and people are taught to be afraid. In countries of Taiwan. So yeah, you'll notice a big difference when people walk in Taiwan. They look more timid and not as confident as in China. When people walk in China, they walk like they're proud and not afraid of other people. So when you talk to strangers there, people don't get riled up and think, "Oh, who are you? Who the hell are you?" They don't get scared. And that's the good thing about China and Russia. It's easy to meet women there. It's easy to be social there because there's not this wall of ice between people like there is in the USA or Taiwan. Um, so yeah,
Well,
China's pretty fun. It's a lot funner than Taiwan, and it has a lot more things to see and do because it's huge. It's like a different world, and it has amazing culture. So as a tourist, you're gonna really, really like China because it's amazing in a lot of ways, and it's clean and safe, just like Taiwan. It's clean and safe. You'll never get mugged there. There's no violence or school shootings there, but Western media will never tell you that. But usually, when you're tourist there, you come off with a very good impression.
It's amazing how massive it is in terms of
So
land.
yeah.
Oh, we've got a delay.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's like a different world. I mean, um, and yeah, and there's a lot of people there, and I think there's a lot of things to see. It's just more interesting and adventurous because there's just more stuff to see. I mean, because Taiwan's really small and it's more narrow and insular. So, I mean, Taiwan is nice to visit for a few weeks too, but I mean, it's just not that interesting because it's just much more sleep. It doesn't dynamic. It doesn't feel energy. Like when you're in Bangkok, you feel all this energy. You
Can
don't
you
get that
switch to
more
data?
dynamic. Same
Can
in
you switch to data?
big cities are growing, and so you feel all this energy is dynamic. Switch the data?
Sorry, I think my Wi-Fi is
No, I'm still connected on Wi-Fi.
okay. Good. We well, China. Yeah, China is I think China would be fascinating just because it would be like step.
The media says it is.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
the
can you hear
meat.
me?
I can hear you. I think we have a delay here.
Oh, yeah, maybe because we're in different countries.
It no, I
But
think
yeah,
it's
don't
my.
cross China off your list. It's very, very nice, much better than what the media says. It's
I know that why the media never tells the truth about other countries and what they're actually like. I'm sure if I went to Russia, it would just be like I was, like I'm sure there are normal people there. It's not like everyone is just terrible there. Like the media says Russia is the enemy.
yeah, I mean it's propaganda and plus, they're the global powers are competing with each other too. So they spread propaganda. But the thing is America has dominates the media. They're very good at mind control and propaganda.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
and people they suppress the information about living abroad. You just never hear it. Even in schools, schools should promote living abroad, but they don't. In colleges should promote it, they don't. They kind of keep it quiet.
Oh, of course not. They want you to stay in their they just want you to stay in your country and be a productive citizen. That's what benefits their country. Of course, they're not going to tell you to leave your country.
But
That's
but
not
but but
patriotic.
a school teacher should be about the truth and freedom of speech and the truth and
Oh
getting the
no,
truth.
no. Truth is for philosophers. School teachers just do their job, which is to, help you pass tests so that you can be an obedient citizen and be a productive citizen to benefit the economy. To be a happy slave, and to find a career. But nobody's going to tell you to live abroad because
Truth is for
they want
philosophers.
you to be patriotic.
Where did that come from? Truth is for philosophers.
Well, because philosophers are seeking the truth. Most people are trying to conform and to be accepted in their society, and that means being, fitting in and getting a good job or career and being a productive citizen. So of course they're not going to tell you to live abroad because every country tells you their country is great. Even in Taiwan, people think that their country is the greatest and that nobody wants to leave because their country is so great. It's part of their pride and propaganda and patriotism. So patriotism goes against this movement, you know. Um, because yeah, I mean it's taboo not to love your country, you know. You're supposed to love your country and want to stay there and try to fix everything. So that is working against us. This, I mean, our message that works against our message.
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, this was a very good conversation. I think there was a lot of points covered. I wish you would do more podcasts and have other people on, other contributors.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean that would be great too. It's just, you know, when you're abroad and trying to do stuff, you know, and explore and stuff, it's just hard to organize your time, you know, because the world contains so many distractions, you know, and and when you have ADHD, you're not good with time management skills. That's the drawback, you know.
Yeah. Well, what time is it there?
I think it's an hour difference than you. I mean,
Yeah, it's
um,
11:43 p.m. here.
yeah. Let me see. Oh, it's 12:43 here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess we can just conclude it right now if you want to.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe next time we can have other guests or something. You can think about it.
Yeah, just ask any of your friends if they want to do a podcast with you.
Yeah, I think some might, but yeah, it just depends, you know, on the subject and what we're going to talk about, you know. Um, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like to be on YouTube too, so that's another problem, you know. Not everyone is open to having their voice on YouTube or something.
Sure. All right. Well, it was great to talk to you here, and I guess hope to see you someday.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I'll put Vietnam on my list after I leave here.
all right. All right. Well, have a good night, and enjoy the rest of your time in the Philippines.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll talk again soon then.
Okay.
Thanks for doing this. Yeah.
All right. All right. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, another hard hitting taboo talks from Winston Wu and his friend Andrew. Okay, I think that's about it. And I'll just read the description for the video: Philippines versus USA slash Taiwan. Winston Wu breaks it down. Happier Abroad interview, April 2026. Okay, let me read the interview. Not interview. Let me read the description. Sorry about that. Let me read the description to that video. Andrew, Winston and I have a thoughtful conversation on the Philippines and living abroad. Winston talks openly about the Philippines and how it has changed over the years. Other points of conversation include the lack of social life in the United States and Taiwan, the effect of smartphone technology and apps on social life, dating, and relationships. Okay, all right. You can watch the video on Winston Wu's YouTube channel, Happier Abroad, Escape USA and Date Foreign Women. Also, you can check the video out on Andrew's channel. It's probably somewhere on YouTube. Well, here's a link to it. Visit Andrew's channel at Swirly Get Free. And also, okay, it's posted on Visit Winston's website, Happier Abroad, at happierabroad.com. Okay. And you can You can you can check out Winston Wu on his Facebook page or also on his Twitter page. Well, now X. Well, Twitter is now X now. X, formerly known as Twitter. Okay, that's it for my Radio New Manchester coverage of the Philippines versus USA/Taiwan. Winston Wu breaks it down. Happy Abroad interview, April 2026 video. Okay, you can check this video out on Winston Wu's YouTube channel. Happy Abroad is up on the channel. You can check it out. If you're interested in Winston Wu's content on his Happy Abroad YouTube channel, you can go ahead and subscribe, or you can subscribe to this channel, my channel, New Manchester. All right, that's it. I'm finished. All right, thank you for listening. Cheers and au revoir. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. Take care. Bye.